Feminism officially takes place between 1848 Seneca Falls Convention and the 1920 ratification of the 19th Amendment. But long before the Declaration of Sentiments was ever written, the abolition movement was mobilizing women publicly like never before. In 1830, abolitionist newspaper publisher, political writer, and educator Maria Stewart became the first woman to ever speak publicly in front of a promiscuous or mixed gender crowd. And her topics? The need for both racial and gender equality.
The leaders of the women's suffragist movement actually got their start in the abolitionist movement and other social reform movements in the 1830s and the 1840s. The Civil War and Reconstruction proved to be a critical moment for women pushing for the right to vote in the United States. In the aftermath of the Civil War, Congress committed itself to ensuring the right to vote for African American men through the passage of the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment stated that the right to vote could not be abridged or denied based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. It, however, said nothing about gender. By the turn of the century, more militant and radical voices were working their way into the fight for women's rights. Alice Paul, for instance, pushed for the adoption of an Equal Rights Amendment. One of the ways that Paul and her supporters sought to dramatize the issues associated with women's suffrage was to stage massive parades. One that they conducted on March 3, 1913, was done so to coincide with the inauguration of President Woodrow Wilson. The women hoped that this would dramatize the denial of a basic civil right to women. Authorities often brutally suppressed female suffragists who employed such tactics. Alice Paul was once placed in solitary confinement and beaten because of a picket she staged at the White House. The brutal treatment of female suffragists actually helped to strengthen public support for the movement. And in 1918, President Woodrow Wilson announced his own support for women winning the right to vote. The denial of more than half of the United States population to participate in the political process at one time was damning to American democracy. In 1920, that changed, and the 19th Amendment was a revolution in American politics. 1920 is a banner year and a milestone in American democracy for what it accomplished for women and what it represents for those who are marginalized in American society, even today.
And then it becomes a self-fulfilling process. Now take cooking, for example. Today, women in general are more likely to do the housework than men, the cooking and cleaning. But why is that? Is it because women are born with a cooking gene? Or because over years they have been socialized to see cooking as their role? Actually, I was going to say that maybe women are born with a cooking gene, until I remembered that the majority of the famous cooks in the world, who we give the fancy title of chefs, are men. I used to look at my grandmother, who was a brilliant, brilliant woman, and wonder how she would have been if she had the same opportunities as men.
By the 1960s, more Western women were coming out of higher education than ever before, with new ambitions for themselves. And as prosperity grew and new appliances went into more homes, some of the old drudgery was removed.
These labor-saving, time-saving devices in our homes free a woman so she...
As this happened, many American women grew dissatisfied and frustrated. They found their manifesto in a book that became a bestseller in 1963. In The Feminine Mystique, New York academic Betty Friedan wrote a devastating critique of the modern woman's situation. Women, as well as men, can only find their identity in work that uses their full capacities. A woman cannot find her identity in the dull routine of housework, she wrote. If a job is to be the way out of the trap for a woman, it must be a job that she can take seriously as part of a life plan, work in which she can grow as part of society.
The majority of American women in many age groups are working outside the home, but most of them are working at low-paid, relatively low-skilled jobs, often in a dead end from professional advancement, and they are not really taking part in the decision-making areas of American life in anything except token numbers.
For some, like Colleen Perot, who'd got married after the war, Friedan's ideas were anathema.
I thought, how strange. What is wrong with this woman? Everybody I knew was not oppressed and was very happy and was not miserable, and we were all enjoying raising our families.
But for other housewives like Jackie Ceballos, the feminine mystique was a revelation.
Betty Friedan was speaking to me. I was a married woman trapped. It just expanded my life.
child, I just assumed that you could do anything. I didn't have brothers. I had an older sister. It didn't occur to me that there was a profound difference until I was 12 or 13, because that's the time at which the feminine role sort of comes down upon you like the Iron Maiden. You pretty much had to get married, have children, take your husband's name, assume his identity. So I assumed that I would have to marry the man I wanted to become. There was not really a choice, and it was the beginning of the women's movement that made me realize, wait a minute, we do have a choice. For me, the biggest aha moment was going to cover an alternate abortion hearing here in New York City for New York Magazine. And for the first time in my life, I heard women standing up in public talking about something that only happened to women, that was life-threatening, that subjected you to sexual harassment. That was the light bulb. Why is this illegal? Why is it criminal? Watching the abortion hearing, I had this feeling of sudden unity. Something you think that has been only your experience and maybe your fault, you suddenly realize is incredibly widespread. It is a result of unequal power. It's a result of politics. It's unjust.
Time a man or woman stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lots of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest wall of oppression and resistance. That's what we are doing. We, the entire spectrum of the feminist movement, are building an unstoppable current for which we need ripples of hope from every age, race, ability, walk of life, from every human experience. I feel gender equality is as important as any of the other goals that we are here to discuss. And actually, if anything, it is even more important because it intersects with every single other issue that we face. We all have feminine and masculine energies within us. And both forces need to be lifted up, respected. They need to work together in order to make the world go round. Each of you are here at One Young World because you do something important. And it is so exciting to see you all come together in one room, because One Young World isn't about saying what each of us individually can do, but what we can do.